Most gardeners are obsessed with the wrong metric. They measure success in kilos, crates, and how full their beds look in photos. And because of that, they miss the one category of crops that can quietly outperform everything else in their garden. High-value, low-input plants that do not behave like vegetables. The consequence is predictable. You spend months watering, feeding, and maintaining crops that return almost nothing in actual value, while ignoring plants that could produce something rare, concentrated, and incredibly profitable in a fraction of the space. Saffron is the perfect example of that blind spot. Not because it is trendy or expensive, but because it breaks the rules most growers are comfortable with. It does not reward constant care. It does not need rich soil. And if you treat it like a typical garden plant, you will kill it faster than you can harvest anything meaningful. The gap between success and failure with saffron is not experience. It is mindset. Once you understand what the plant actually wants, it becomes one of the simplest crops you can grow. The first time I planted a saffron corm, I made the same mistake most people make. I gave it good soil, regular water, and a protected environment, and it failed. Not slowly, but completely. The corm softened, rotted, and disappeared into the soil. That failure taught me more than any guide ever could. Saffron does not want comfort. It wants control. Before we go further, I want to say something that matters beyond growing food. If you are getting real value from this kind of content, consider supporting a dog rescue organization. These groups rely entirely on donations to rescue, feed, and treat abandoned and injured dogs. Even a small contribution helps keep them running. And if this information helps you build something better in your garden, it is worth passing that forward in a real, tangible way. Once you strip away the myths, saffron cultivation becomes brutally simple. You start with a corm, not a seed. That corm is essentially a storage organ packed with everything the plant needs to initiate growth. Your job is not to feed it aggressively, but to give it an environment where it does not rot. That means drainage above everything else. If water lingers around the corm, even briefly, you are introducing risk. And most garden soils hold far more moisture than saffron can tolerate. In a pot, the ideal mix looks wrong to most gardeners. You want something that drains almost immediately. A blend of about 60 to 70% coarse sand or perlite, combined with 30 to 40% light soil or compost, creates a structure that allows water to pass through without staying. When you water, it should feel like it disappears. If the pot feels heavy for long after watering, the mix is too dense. Planting depth matters more than people think. Too shallow, and temperature fluctuations stress the corm. Too deep, and emergence slows or fails entirely. I have consistently seen the best results at around 3 to 4 inches deep in pots, and slightly deeper in raised beds, where temperature swings are more extreme. The pointed end goes up, and once it is in place, you leave it alone. Watering is where most growers sabotage themselves. The instinct is to check, to maintain, to care for the plant. With saffron, restraint is the real skill. After planting, a light watering is enough to settle the soil. After that, you are not following a schedule. You are responding to conditions. In drier setups, a light watering every couple of weeks is sufficient. Overwatering does not just reduce yield, it eliminates the plant entirely. This is also where post-harvest thinking should start early, because growing saffron is only half the process. Preserving it correctly is what determines whether you have grown something valuable or wasted your effort. A simple tool like a stainless steel saffron drying dehydrator tray becomes critical here. I will link it in the description below. Not because it is complicated, but because consistent airflow and even drying are non-negotiable if you want to maintain quality. Raised beds introduce a different set of variables. They tend to retain more moisture than pots, especially if they are built with organic, rich soil. That is a problem for saffron. To compensate, you need to aggressively modify the texture. Adding sharp sand in high proportions changes how water moves through the bed. You are essentially turning a moisture-retaining system into a fast-draining one. It feels counterintuitive, especially if you are used to building rich, fertile beds. But saffron does not benefit from that richness in the way vegetables do. Spacing in raised beds is often overemphasized. Traditional advice suggests giving each corm several inches of space, but in practice, moderate density works just fine, as long as drainage is excellent. I have grown corms closer than recommended, without any negative effects, because competition is not the limiting factor, moisture is. As long as each corm sits in a dry, well-drained pocket, they coexist without issues. Hydroponics is where saffron gets misunderstood the most. People assume that because it is a controlled system, it will perform better. But saffron is not built for constant moisture exposure. In hydroponic setups, the goal is not to submerge roots or maintain continuous nutrient flow. Instead, you create a system where the corm remains mostly dry, with minimal contact with a slightly moist medium. Net cups with coarse substrates work well, allowing roots to access moisture without being saturated. The nutrient solution itself does not need to be aggressive. Saffron does not demand high feeding levels. A diluted solution far weaker than what you would use for leafy greens is more than enough. Overfeeding leads to soft growth, which increases the risk of disease and reduces the plant's natural resilience. Timing is where saffron separates disciplined growers from casual ones. The flowering window is short and unforgiving. Flowers often open early in the morning, and the quality of the stigmas is highest at that moment. If you wait too long, exposure to sunlight and air begins to degrade them. Harvesting becomes a daily task during the flowering period, not something you can postpone. Each flower produces only 3 red stigmas. That is your saffron. The yield per plant is tiny in physical terms, which is why handling matters so much. You gently remove the stigmas. Keep them intact and avoid touching them more than necessary. Damage at this stage directly affects quality. Drying is where most of the value is either preserved or lost. Fresh saffron threads contain moisture that must be removed carefully. If they dry too slowly, mold becomes a risk. If they dry too quickly, or at too high a temperature, the compounds responsible for aroma and color degrade. This is where that mesh drying tray proves its worth. Again, spreading the threads in a single layer allows air to circulate evenly, preventing clumping and uneven drying. Drying temperature is the detail that decides whether your harvest becomes a premium spice or just a reddish bundle of dried plant material. I do not treat drying as an afterthought anymore. I treat it as the second harvest. For small batches, the safest range is gentle warmth, steady airflow, and patience. Around 35 to 45 degrees Celsius is enough to remove moisture without burning away the aroma. You are not trying to cook the threads. You are trying to protect the compounds that make saffron valuable in the first place. A good batch changes slowly. At first, the stigmas look soft and almost too delicate to handle. As moisture leaves, they shrink, darken, and become lighter. But they should not turn brown or brittle like burned leaves. If the color fades, the temperature was probably too high. if the threads stay damp or clump together. The airflow was not enough. This is why spreading them thinly matters. One crowded pile can ruin the center of the batch, while the outside looks fine. When the threads are properly dried, storage begins immediately. Do not leave them on the tray all day because they look pretty. Light and air are enemies now. Place them in a small airtight glass container. Keep that container in a dark cupboard, and do not keep opening it just to smell it. Every time you expose saffron to air, a little quality escapes. This is one of those crops where discipline after harvest matters as much as discipline before harvest. There is also a mistake almost nobody talks about. Freshly dried saffron usually improves after resting. The aroma becomes deeper after a few weeks of curing in a sealed container. Many beginners harvest, dry, taste it immediately, and think they failed because the fragrance is not as powerful as expected. Give it time. Proper saffron matures after drying. That waiting period is part of the process, not a delay. Now, let us talk about multiplication, because this is where saffron becomes interesting for a home grower. A single corm is not just a one-time plant. Under the right conditions, it produces small daughter corms around itself. Those offsets are your future crop. This means that the smartest growers are not only thinking about this year's flowers, they are thinking about building a self-expanding stock of planting material. But that multiplication only happens when the corms stay healthy through the full cycle. After flowering, the leaves are not useless. They are the solar panels feeding the corm underground. Do not cut them just because the flowers are gone. Let them stay until they naturally yellow and collapse. During that time, the plant is moving energy back into the corm and preparing next season's growth. If you remove the leaves too early, you reduce the strength of the corm and weaken the next harvest before it even begins. Dormancy is the stage that tests your patience. The pot may look empty, the bed may look dead, but underground, the corm is resting. This is exactly when many gardeners interfere and ruin everything. They water because the soil looks dry. They add fertilizer because nothing appears to be happening. They dig around to check if the corm is alive. All of that creates stress and moisture where the plant wants quiet dryness. During dormancy, less is usually better. Keep the growing area dry, protected from heavy rain, and free from weeds that hold moisture around the soil surface. In containers, you can even move the pots under cover during wet periods. In raised beds, a slightly elevated planting zone helps water escape faster. The goal is not to baby the plant. The goal is to prevent the one thing saffron hates most: trapped moisture around the corm. If you live in a climate with heavy rainfall, containers are often easier than open ground. You can control the soil mix, control watering, and move the pots when weather becomes a problem. If you live in a dry climate with cool nights and a clear seasonal shift, raised beds can work beautifully. The best method is not the one that sounds most professional. The best method is the one that gives you drainage, seasonal dryness, and easy access during the short harvest window. And that harvest window is short. When the flowers begin, you need to pay attention every morning. A flower that opens today should be picked today. The red stigmas are at their best before wind, sun, and dust have worked on them for hours. You are not harvesting like tomatoes, where waiting another day might be fine. With saffron, timing affects color, fragrance, and final value. A few careful minutes each morning can make the difference between ordinary and excellent. Scaling saffron is also different from scaling vegetables. You do not scale by adding complicated work. You scale by repeating a simple controlled system. 10 pots become 20. One dry raised bed section becomes 2. The process stays the same. The only intense period is flowering and drying. The rest of the year is mostly restraint, observation, and protecting the corms from conditions they do not want. This is why saffron fits small spaces so well. You do not need a large field to learn the crop. You can start with a small number of corms. Understand the cycle, correct your soil mix, improve your drying method, and then expand once you have proven that the system works. Starting small is not a weakness. It is the fastest way to avoid expensive mistakes. There is one final point that changes how you measure success. A tiny jar of saffron may not look impressive next to baskets of vegetables, but the value is concentrated. You are growing a crop where quality matters more than bulk. Deep red threads, clean aroma, careful drying, and proper storage matter more than chasing weight. Bad saffron is easy to produce. Good saffron requires restraint, and that is the lesson this plant teaches better than almost anything else in the garden. More water is not always better. Richer soil is not always better. More attention is not always better. Sometimes the most profitable crop is the one that asks you to do less, but do it with precision. Saffron rewards the grower who understands timing, drainage, drying, and patience. So if you are tired of filling your garden with crops that demand constant work and return very little value, saffron is worth testing. Start with healthy corms. Use a fast draining mix. Water lightly. Harvest early. Dry gently. Store carefully. Then let the corms rest and multiply. Once you see that cycle work for the first time, you will understand why this crop has remained valuable for centuries. If this practical growing approach helped you, subscribe to Botanical Vault and share it with someone who still believes a garden is only successful when it produces huge piles of food. Because the smartest garden is not always the biggest one. It is the one that turns space, timing, and discipline into something rare, useful, and valuable. Do not rush it, and do not turn it into a complicated project. Master the basics first, because with saffron, the basics are not beginner steps. They are the entire secret. Grow it calmly, measure results honestly, and improve each season.